Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurundiditam Sai Shri Gurave Namaha Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Go praying. Which reminds me that when Balaram was on pilgrimage, he came across an assembly of sages headed by Ramaharshan, who had been elected to speak and given the blessings of the Brahmins there. But when Balaram on pilgrimage arrived at that place, it looked just like this. Ramaharshan didn't stand up or offer obeisances to Balaram. And Balaram, noticing that Ramaharshan had remained seated on the seat of esteem reserved for Vyasadeva or his representatives, then remembered that he was not from a perfectly high caste. And most particularly he noticed that although he had studied everything and was qualified academically to sit before the sages, he didn't know the conclusion of the Vedas. Yo mam evam asammudho janati purushottamam sasarva vid bhajatimam sarva bhavena bharata. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in various ways that the ultimate goal of the Vedas, sarvasya chaham hridisandivishto matak smitir jnanam apohanam cha vedaishta sarviraham eva vedya vedanta krit veda vedeva chaham, should be to come and ultimately to understand Krishna. And in the previous verse, Krishna says in the Gita, again, that if one knows me, one knows everything. But if one has studied all the Vedas and knows every mudra in the universe, but doesn't know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that I'm His eternal servant, then such a person is wholly unqualified to sit on the Vyasasana. And therefore Balaram took a piece of kusha, grass, and touching it to the body of Ramaharshan, Ramaharsha expired on the spot. Much to the consternation of the sages who were present there, there was an outcry. They said, "Bo, bo, P-H-O-B-H-O." Would you like to try it? But it was more alarmed than that. Ready? It's kind of like that, only much louder. Because they had, the sages blessed Ramaharshan with long life, and now he was summarily executed by Balaram, right there in front of everybody. And they said, for a moment, what shall we do, what shall we do? And then Balaram gave the solution, which was that the son is known to be the extension of the father, and therefore his son, who is greatly qualified, as the sages acknowledge, Vetatvam Saumya Tat Sarvam Tattvatastadanugrahat Bruyushnignasya Sishyasya Guruvo Kuyamapyuta. Sutta Goswami, son of Romaharshan, and was elevated to the position of the speaker there. And Balaram had executed one of the duties as mentioned by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhutanam adharmasya tadatmanam sajamyaham. He comes to make sure things are in order. In every era he appears, shuklo raktastata pita, in different colors. Idanim krishitam gataha. He appears in white, red, yellow. And he does so to show his pastimes and also to clear up any discrepancies. So now Sutta Goswami then sat before the sages and with great respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he started in the right way. Narayanam namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udira. Before reciting, he said, the Srimad Bhagavatam, I first offer my obeisances to Lord Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of fortune, and then to Śrīla Vyasadeva, the author. So Balaram is the elder brother of Krishna. In Krishna's appearance in Vrindavan, it appeared on the 7th pregnancy of Devaki that she had had a miscarriage because Balaram had been attracted from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. That's why he's also called Sankarsana. And he followed the Sadgarbha Asuras. One after another, there were children born of Devaki who were summarily killed by Kamsa. A lot of killing today's talk. They had been predestined, as they were cursed in their previous life, to take birth as they were in their last life, the sons of Kalanemi, and then Kalanemi became Kamsa in his next life. And they were cursed that they would be killed by their own father in their next life. But after such an execution, they would be purified and put in a position for liberation, which they achieved later when they came back to visit Devaki by Krishna's arrangement. Nonetheless, Balaram appeared in Vrindavan, although it was a conundrum to Kamsa, who was waiting for the 8th child. As we know, when he was coming home on his sister's wedding day on the chariot, there was a voice from the sky which announced that Kamsa, you're a fool, because although you're taking such good care of your sister, you don't know that the 8th son born, or at least the 8th offspring of your sister is destined to kill you. He immediately stopped. He was driving the chariot. He grabbed his sister's hair, and with the other hand he pulled out his sword, intending to decapitate his own sister. To which Vasudeva began to offer various ways of negotiation so that he could give up his impulse to kill his sister, among which were, this could look bad on your resume. And he also explained the path of self-realization, how everyone comes through this life as a result of past karma. And he said in the end of his offerings to dissuade Kamsa from killing his own sister that, I promise you that I will give you the offspring. And besides, It's not happening now. Why do anything now? Why not wait? Because it's the 8th son, or the 8th offspring that will come to kill you, perhaps, if the demigods are correct. And I'll hand over each one of the offspring that comes to Devaki, one after another. Vasudeva, was known to be avowedly truthful. So Kamsa believed him. It's one of the mystic potencies that are mentioned by Patanjali Muni in the Yoga Sutras. If someone always tells the truth, their speech becomes very powerful. So much so that when they say something, everyone believes it. There's a certain power in that. And Vasudeva had that power. And in Vrindavan, of course, when Krishna was born, he was ostensibly born from the womb of Devaki, although he didn't look like Krishna, he looked like Narayan, and who was born with a crown and all jewelry and 4 arms and so forth. When he was born in the prison to Devaki, Vasudeva and Devaki offered prayers, and then they pleaded with him, please disguise yourself as a baby, otherwise Krishna will know that God has appeared and he's against God, so he'll come and try to kill you. This is out of a sense of fear for protecting her child, although it seems counterintuitive because Kamsa was looking for a baby. Nonetheless, it was Krishna's arrangement, because then by Yoga Maya, the internal potency of the Lord, the guards fell asleep there in the prison. The shackles on Vasudeva and Devaki fell off, and the doors opened. At that point, Vasudeva took the little baby in his arms and went towards Gokul. And at that time, there was a raging storm. But Anantashesh, who's Balaram, appeared over his head to protect him from the rain. Not a drop touched the head of Krishna, except when they were crossing the Jamuna. And then, according to our acharyas, Krishna's lotus feet touched that water. That's why Prabhupada says the water of the Jamuna is 10,000 times more purifying than the Ganga, because Krishna's lotus feet touched the water there. And he went to exchange the child for the daughter that had taken birth from Yashoda. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, actually what happened was Yashoda had given birth to twins, a boy and a girl. And at that time, the Narayan form that Vasudeva was carrying, although he was in the form of a baby, merged into the form of Krishna. And he picked up, did Vasudeva, the daughter, brought her back to the prison, put the shackles back on, closed the doors. By Yoga Maya's potency, everyone awoke in the morning time, not knowing what had happened, how the transfer had taken place. But they heard the crying of a baby. And when Kamsa came there, he found that there was a girl. Now he's really confused, because 7 was a miscarriage and 8 appeared to be a girl, and they were expecting a boy. And although Vasudeva pleaded to save his and Devaki's daughter, he mercilessly did Kamsa pick up the legs of the little child and attempted to dash her on the stone of the prison. At that point, she flew up into the air and chastised Kamsa from her position as Yogamaya. And she said, Kamsa, you're such a fool. You think you can kill me? At this point, because Kamsa was a worshipper of Durga, and he recognized, this is my worshipful deity, he thought much more of his sister at that point. She then left the prison, expanded herself in many forms that are still worshipped today. And the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram began there in Vrindavan. So those childhood pastimes are greatly celebrated because they don't take place in Goloka Vrindavan. They take place in Bhoma Vrindavan. Bhoma Vrindavan means earthly Vrindavan. And we celebrate every year in Kartik the childhood pastimes of Krishna as the most relishable of all, because they're very human-like. In fact, the residents of Vrindavan only see Krishna and Balaram as the most enchanting, beautiful children. They don't think, oh, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has appeared here. And in their playing in Vrindavan, the little children, Krishna and Balaram, sometimes they catch on to the tail of a calf, and the calf will drag them across the courtyard. And the children then are smeared with cow dung and some of the different colors of the earth from Vrindavan. And the parents then are charmed by seeing their childlike pastimes in Vrindavan. And while we were sitting here under this tree, it reminded me of Ramanda Ghat in Vrindavan. How many of you have been to Ramanda Ghat? Everybody. Doesn't it remind you a little bit of the tree we sit under in Ramanda Ghat? Ramanda Ghat is the place in Vrindavan where Yashoda saw the universal form within the mouth of her child, Krishna. But what preceded that was that Krishna and Balaram, as usual, every day were playing with their friends. And during the play, there was some dispute. And then there was some politics. Because some of the children, and verified by Balaram, went to Yashoda and said, we saw it ourselves, Krishna has eaten dirt. We saw him. And Yashoda became alarmed and called for Krishna to come. Finally, when he came, she read him the verdict. We heard from your friends, and your brother Balaram has verified it, that you ate dirt. Little Krishna, who everyone saw as the most charming child. He had chubby legs, and he wears a tiger tooth around his neck and a golden chain. So beautiful, no one can take their eyes off him. Even when he would play pranks in the neighborhood by going from home to home, stealing butter, along with his brother and friends, breaking pots, and feed the monkeys until they were full. And then when the homeowner would come and say, you're stealing butter, he'd say, we don't need this butter, it's useless. Even the monkeys won't eat it, because they were already full. And Krishna, in each one of the homes, would do vandalism and then go to the next place. And the homeowners, they would complain to Yashoda, and she said, oh, well, I'll stop it. And they said, no, that's okay. Because they were actually charmed by the childhood pastimes of Krishna and Balaram and their friends. And this time, when Yashoda had brought Krishna into court and said, we have the evidence. Now we know because even your brother said it. Krishna said, they're lying. They're all lying. It's a conspiracy against me. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the form of a little baby, perhaps commits perjury. And Yashoda then, in Brahmanda Ghat, sits Krishna, the little baby, on her knee and said, open your mouth. I'm going to see for myself if you've eaten dirt or not. And as he opens his mouth and she looks within, she sees the myriad energies of the universe. Parasha Saktir Vividai Vishuyate Swabhavika Jnana Bala Kriyacha. It's known from the Upanishads that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is manifesting all his energies. And by them, the spiritual world, the material world, everything is going on under his potency. In the spiritual world, Krishna expands as Balaram first, and from Balaram, the Chaturvyuha, and then Mahasankarshan, then the second Chaturvyuha, and then the Purusha avatars, all the way down to Shesha. Shesha means the remainder. Each one of them has this mood of serving Krishna, who is the cynosure for all living beings, except for the conditioned souls. And although he is, but they don't know it. So all those energies are working under Krishna's order. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena konteya jagat viparivartate. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, everything you see going on seemingly automatically in this world, the different seasons, the way the planets are juxtapositions in the sky and are moving in a calculated way. Cellular biology, if you take a study, you'll see how everything's acting uniformly. And Upanishads say perfectly, Om Purnamada Purnamidam, everything's perfectly aligned in the universe. All of that, when she looked in Krishna's mouth, she could discern he's the source of all energies, the controller of all energies, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha. And then she saw everything, so she also saw herself, and herself with Krishna sitting on her lap, with Krishna with his mouth open, and within them, that image, she could see that there were more universes within the mouth of that image, and it went on into infinity, and then she became disoriented. It's like, well, close your mouth. And Prabhupada mentions, in commenting on this, says, oh, that's all right, just don't eat dirt anymore. And there's a way in which Krishna interacts with his devotees according to their love for him. Yayata mam prapadyante tam sthatai bhajamyaham mama vartmanavartante manusya parthasarvashaha. The way anyone approaches Krishna to serve him, Krishna reciprocates accordingly. So in Vrindavan, nobody sees Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There may be some inkling at some times. Even before Krishna was born, Nanda and Yashoda had visions in their dreams that they would give birth to a child that would be more attractive than Narayan. And they thought that we shouldn't talk about this. This could be blasphemous. It could be taken as heresy. How could anybody be greater or more beautiful than Narayan? And of course, when Krishna was born, and Nanda went to the house of Gargamuni, who then recommended, we better do this privately, because Kamsa's on the lookout for children being born. He'll put it all together, and he'll come looking for Krishna and Balaram. So they went to a cowshed and had the name-giving ceremony. At that time, Gargamuni intimated that what you have here in your family now is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because of the Yogamaya, the internal potency of Krishna, the residents of Vrindavan only see him as the most beautiful, marvelous boy who lifted Govardhan Hill and saved them. See Krishna and Balaram as ordinary children, and they have so much love for them, even when someone tells them he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They say, oh, that's all right. And in the Kali Yuga, Krishna and Balaram come as Gaura and Nitai. And even as they appear in this world as Gaura Nitai, they have the mission of expanding the Sankirtan movement all over the world. And this process of deity worship is so sublime because although when we're conditioned by the modes of material nature, it's very difficult or impossible to see God. Atashi Krishna namadi navaved grayamindriye sevamuki hijivado swayameva spuratyata. The Padma Purana says you can't see God by your material senses, but you can see him by service, especially beginning with the tongue. And it's mentioned in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. A prisoner may look outside the bars of the prison and see the free light emanating from the sun. But he can't go and take advantage of it because he's behind bars. Even though he sees it, he can't go there. So similarly, a conditioned soul within a material body may see the Atma and understand I'm not my body. But still that person is imprisoned by the material desires that hold him or her in this bodily conception of life, which is severe. In the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear that those who are in the bodily conception of life have various elements of meditation from their bodily existence. When one meditates on the gross material body, one experiences drowsiness and intense and insatiable sexual desire. When one meditates on the prana within the body, then one feels hunger. When one meditates on the mind and is absorbed in the mind, then one feels a sense of panic and fear. And when one meditates on the intelligence, one feels a profound existential bitterness. Profound, it's Peb, P-E-B, profound existential bitterness when one meditates on the intelligence. When one meditates on the false ego, one feels inferiority and thinks, no one's lower than me. And when one meditates on the consciousness, one is haunted by previous memories of being in the material world. So the bodily conception of life is not only difficult to get out of, but it's misery. At any point where we interact with the body, with the prana, with the mind, with the intelligence, with the false ego, with our own consciousness. So what is the solution? The solution is to invite Krishna Balaram to come to your house. And then meditating on these deities, and the mood of this household. One day, a couple of years ago, we unexpectedly showed up here. Unannounced, we came. And when we knocked on the door, Kunji, you were inside and you had Vrindavan set up in the living room. He had all the personalities of Vrindavan and little pieces she had of little personalities. All the gopis, all the cowherd people, everyone was interacting with Krishna and Vrindavan. It was a very spontaneous mood. And then when Kunji announced that she wanted Krishna Balaram deities, and Nirkul and I went looking for them. And then so many devotees helped to bring this all together so that I think Mantra City did the painting, which is sublime, amazing. And then the feeling that they're coming all the way from India to here. Where else do you get that experience if you're only absorbed in some kind of impersonal meditation? who's coming, when are they coming, who is the personality, what do they look like when they get here, and how are you going to bathe some impersonal conception of the Lord with milk and yogurt and honey and ghee and sugar water. And who keeps that kind of stuff around anyway? What did you do for the 4th of July? We bathed Krishna and Balaram with milk, yogurt, honey, ghee, sugar water, and tulsi leaves everywhere, flowers. We need that. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in giving us 64 items of devotional service, told us that there are 5 that are especially potent. They're so potent out of the 64, these 5, that if you're connected with them even a little bit, even if you don't have faith in them, you'll attain the perfection of devotional service. And one of those 5 is deity worship. Why is it so important to worship the deities? Because as the demigods before Krishna's birth, when he was still in the womb, noted for everyone in the world to hear, Yene ravindaksha vamuktamaninas tvayastabhavad avashuddha bhudaya aruya Kṛṣṇa parampadam tata patantyato nadrita yushmarangraya. Unless you're able to behold the lotus eyes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and feel a twinge in your heart that, oh, Krishna is here. And he said, you won't achieve this perfection of life. Many people think the perfection of life, have their various conceptions of how they'll be perfect in life. One idea is that I'll make money. This sounds like it might work if you make enough money. But then the definition of enough keeps changing. What's more, that it leaks out the other side. You get it, and then somehow or other, one of your 52 cousins, or all of your 52 cousins, demand a share. Whichever way it goes, it goes. Other people feel that if they achieve a point of power in the government, then they've achieved the perfection of life. All these are short-lived. They come and go, and nobody can maintain them. But because our eternal constitutional position is to love and serve Krishna, when we're able to think of Krishna, manmana bhavamad bhakto, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, just think of me. If we think of the elements of the body, as I just described, there are various anomalies that plague us. But there's no problem when we think of Krishna. In fact, thinking of Krishna solves all problems. Yogis meditate on the various elements of the universe in order to become like those elements. That's why yogis, they'll meditate on the element of air, and then they'll attain the power of levitating. Others have supernatural powers because of connecting their consciousness to various elements in the material world. Krishna talks about this himself to Uddhava in the Bhagavatam. But then he says, no need to meditate on anything else except Krishna, on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we have the great fortune of the deities coming to our house, and we're able to perform the panchratric system for the deities in our own homes. Then the home becomes a temple. There's no difference. Once in Detroit, Michigan, there was a large assembly of devotees. 99.9% of them were brahmacārīs, because that's what the constitution of ISKCON used to be. There were a couple householders here and there. They were outliers. And there was this very sincere man who was sitting amidst the sea of brahmacārīs, and he wasn't a brahmacārī. He had a house outside, which is also an astounding achievement at that time. Not an achievement, but it was looked at like, ooh, you live outside? Poor person. And this man, in a very humble, sheepish way, said to Śrīla Prabhupāda, but, I have my 3 children and I live outside, and what can I do? And Prabhupada said, this temple is made of brick and stone, and your house is made of brick and stone. He said, in the temple, the business is serving Krishna. If in your house you serve Krishna, no difference. That was a revelation to everyone present. No difference. But this is the genius of the process given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Goswamis. It covers all aspects of our lives. And it covers the different eras of our lives and gives us a comfortable slot that we can adhere to during our youth, during our adolescence, during our middle age, during old age, and so forth, so that we can always remember Krishna. And one of the most important ways of doing it is to have the image of Krishna in one's house. As Krishna describes, the deity form of the Lord can be worshipped in many ways. In paint, in other words, if you have a painting of Krishna, like the Panchatattva, you can worship that. In fact, that's how Prabhupada started all his temples, with pictures of Panchatattva. Still some of them around, those original paintings. He commissioned them, so each temple that opened would have a painted picture of Panchatattva. If you do that, Prabhupada writes in one of his purports, you won't want for anything. You'll have all the mercy of Krishna through the Panchatattva. And then, of course, there's metal, wood, stone. There's in the mind. There's jewels, earth. Various ways Krishna said that the deity can be formed, all through material elements. And when worshipped properly, then the home becomes a temple. So the way of worshipping the deity is just to offer everything to Krishna. Offer your food and offer the house. If you get a new car, you put the car keys on the altar and take rest and see if Krishna Balaram want to drive it around. The idea is everything, cloth, jewels, whatever comes, you first take it to the deity and say, my Lord, this is yours. I'll use it if you like after you enjoy it. And in this way, we become free from the normal attachments that come to the household. Also important about deity worship is that there are 2 major categories of worship. One is temple worship and the other is home worship. In the temple, Krishna is to be worshipped as a king. Kingly opulence. More is better. And everything has to be exactly on time. If you're a second late, it's not good. And in home, the standard is very different. This is according to our Padhatis, according to Shastra. Home worship means that Krishna's there, and according to your means, you can offer Krishna things, and also according to the schedule of your household, you can also arrange to worship Krishna. It should be very simple. Piece of evidence for worshiping Krishna at home in the deity form is that the minister of deity worship in ISKCON, Nrsimha Kavacha Prabhu, who was a very forthright and clean Brahmin, very elevated soul, affable personality. He's the minister of deity worship. He doesn't have deities at home. And I asked him about that. He said, well, Prabhupada wanted us to come to the temple. And he said, unless you live very far away, then you should, he wanted everyone to congregate at the temple, worship the deities there. However, he did indicate that it's important for devotees to have deities in their home. But he said, keep it simple. He indicated that it should be done simply. And don't defer to your own deity worship and then skip the coming to the festivals or whatever. I have to take care of my Thakurji, so I can't come. No, we should first centralize, come to the temple, and then if we take the right mood and we worship the deity at home, we'll feel that the whole house has become transformed. And as Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his song Shuddha Bhakata Charan Renu, he said, one day in my house, taking Charanamrita, all of a sudden I just saw the spiritual world. And even now, my hands are aromatic because I was massaging Krishna and Balaram, or most particularly I was massaging Krishna. And now the rest of the day, I'm going to have that scent. And if you were to worship your deities and you offer a little oil, and it should be nice oil, everything should be nice. And that's one of the benefits of having deities is, you know that urge you might have, or somebody might have somewhere, to shop? It's never fulfilling because you just get too much stuff, and then on a bad day you say, I'm getting rid of everything. It all must go. Even if it has price tags on it still. You didn't wear it, you get rid of it. Well, you can purify that by shopping for Krishna. You can shop in Vrindavan, which is really nice because everybody knows what you're talking about when you see, I need a pair of shoes that are this big. Try that at, what's the name of the mall here? Try to go to Valley Fair and say, I need a pair of shoes this big. I need little cups and plates this big for my Thakurji. And they go, what? But you can shop for Krishna. You can buy nice things. You can look for his comfort. And the more, as we know from Prahlad Maharaj, Naivatmana prabharayam nija labha purnam manam janada vijasad karano vranite yad yajato bhagavate takaman touch chatmane pratimukasya yata mukashri. He says, when you decorate Krishna, then you become decorated. It's the opposite of what everyone thinks. So this is a big event. Kunjari knew she wanted Krishna Balaram. She was very particular about what size they were, how they would look. And Prabhupada talks about Vidura, and he said Vidura in his childhood, he was always playing with dolls of Krishna. He was always worshiping Krishna. Even it was time for breakfast and he wouldn't come because he hadn't finished worshiping his deities, just when he was a little kid. And Prabhupada commented that this is not some sentimentality. This is real. And when Prabhupada would see kids playing kartals or imitating any of the devotional activities, he said, this is real. Even though at some point, it may seem like imitation, but it's real. And this was something that Prabhupada had in his childhood, that he worshipped Krishna. And very particularly, he had the Ratha Yatra. At night, he would keep his hand on the little cart that his father had bought for him. He told this to one of my godbrothers. He said, at night, when I was falling asleep, I'd keep my hand on the cart to make sure it was still there. He was so attached. So this is the success of life. The Panchratrik Vidya is one of the aspects that when we have the deity in the house and we become attached to the deity and we shop for the deity and we hold festivals for the deity and everything is centered around Krishna, then our whole house becomes purified and whatever we do becomes purified. So Kunjari, are you happy?
Yes.
Yeah. And it was a really nice kirtan you led on the way in. And we're, all of us, we're going to, now that we know where you live, we'll just come over anytime. So now that you have Krishna Balaram here and it's like Vrindavan, we're not even going to knock. We'll just come over, so make sure you cook lots of bhoga and offer to Krishna so that whenever we all come over again, just to see them and to see you and see your family and sit under this tree and talk about Krishna Balaram, that we can come anytime, right?
Yes.
That's Vrindavan. That's Vrindavan. So thank you very much for your intense prayers to bring Krishna and Balaram here. And thank you very much to your exalted parents who made it all happen. And thanks for inviting us all over here today, because we'll never forget this time that Krishna and Balaram came to, where are we anyway? We're in San Jose? Came to San Jose. And this place, this house, when demigods are looking down, they're going to see some, just like infrared light, you can see the camera, the demigods can see that Krishna Balaram here, and it'll become a celebrated place on the planet. And even the demigods will say, what is that place? In San Jose. And Krishna Balaram lived there. They're being worshipped there in a very special house by a very special girl. Dear Śrīla Prabhupāda, I intimated the name earlier. Did you hear it?
Yes.
Kanai Balai Ki Jai. We picked that because the mood here is Vrindavan. The mood here is very loving, natural, friendly love for Krishna. And we thought that name of Krishna and Balaram suits you well, Kanai Balai. So that's our suggestion. What do you think?
Yes.
Okay. 3 yeses in a row. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. Dear Śrīla Prabhupāda, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Panchatattva, Shri Kanai Balai. If you so desire, please bless Kunjari that she can worship you with all her heart and soul, and all the other residents of Vrindavan who live here. And I think a little bag or a box, they can all come out and worship. May you also make this a center for Sankirtan to spread Krishna consciousness all over the Bay Area. May anyone who lives in this house become a great pure devotee of the Lord in the mood of Krishna Balaram from Vrindavan. May anybody who comes to this place and sees Kanai Balai or sits under this tree or has any of the prasadam offered to Kanai Balai, may they attain pure devotional service to the Lord. May anybody who hears about this house and the deities here also become pure devotees and want to join the Sankirtan movement. And may everybody who attended today for this ceremony be blessed with affection for Krishna and Balaram and Vrindavan, and always think about them and always want to be with them. And at the time of death, may everyone who joined this assembly today think only of Krishna and Balaram, Kanai Balai. Om Tat Sat. Thank you for considering our request. Everyone who agrees with this prayer in whole or in part, please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Now we have Does anybody have any reflections or questions? Yes.
Many times we come down to Vrindavan and we're always in yatra. We're always... Oh, here, right.
They're dressing the deities. It's
Hare
going to be
Krishna.
a few more minutes.
Gurudev, many times when we come to Vrindavan, we come on yatra and then we have a full schedule that day and we're running around. And I notice a lot of devotees are trying to squeeze every second out of the day. And in those seconds, as you were just describing, I noticed they try to run shopping. They try to get their deities' dresses done, the shoes for the deities, the fragrances, everything. And somehow time's never enough because we plan our trip on the yatra. And I was wondering, you always tell us when you're on yatra, stay in the yatra. Stay and listen because you're here for the yatra. But today you were talking about how important it is that we use our need to serve the deities. Should we just plan an extra day before or after to do that shopping? Or is it natural for a devotee to need that shopping in the middle of a yatra? What should we do, Gurudev?
Amazon Prime.
Yatra.
I
Amazon.
usually, on the yatras, we set aside some time. If you're, I'm going to give you a little shopping advice. May I? Is be very strategic. Going to Loi Bazaar and going to various shops, it can be exhausting. So plan ahead. Get numbers for all the shop owners. Talk to them before you come to India and have your order ready. I've always, when I'm in some place, I collect their business card, or nowadays you put it on their phone, but I have a stack of cards. And I call people ahead of time and try to make an arrangement. At least I used to when I used to go to Loi Bazaar. Nowadays I have a lot of help. But just plan ahead. And there's also lots of ways that you can make your own things, which is even better. In Denver, Colorado, Pranahari had a whole laboratory set up by the best essential oils from all over the world, and he did his own mixing. He looked up ancient recipes, and he made the most sublime oils. I still have some of them. And there was a craftsperson in New Vrindavan years ago that dealt with gold. And I made a pilgrimage there once to have some really nice gold work done for our deities. And you can grow, well, you can do a lot of the stuff yourself. There are so many good seamstresses and seamsters, tailors, who can make things. In fact, most of our stuff has been made in America. We found those who wanted to do it, we'd give them the measurements, and we have several people who make outfits for us. Some of them are just sublime because they put so much into it. Sometimes in India, when you go to the Mukut, it's carbon copy. You know, they crank them out, they have a bunch of people in the back room making stuff. And it's nice, but you can get all kinds of things in Vrindavan for your deities, but you can get them everywhere too. And it's nice whenever you travel, you can look. For instance, if you go on a vacation somewhere, you don't poke around the gift shops looking for something for yourself, but you look, can you find some jewelry for the deity? And that makes it really nice to do those kinds of things. So that justifies us giving you only a little bit of time during during the yatra. Be strategic. What other points? Since we're all seated beneath the tree in Brahmandagat. Questions, comments, reflections? Yes. It's a holiday, right? Yes. Isn't it nice?
Prabhu, I was just thinking that having deities at home, we just finished a summer camp and did a lot of, of course, seeing Radha Madan Mohan every single day was so much fun, and being there and being with the kids. Yesterday was the last day, and I was just thinking that, I will not get to see Madan Mohan every single day. But then I thought, no, I will get to see Radha Shyam Sundar every day and serve them. So as you said, I was just thinking that it's nice to have deities at home, because then you can come back. It's like you go to yatra and you just feel the separation from yatra, but then you come home and you have the next service to start. So I just wanted to comment on that.
It's very nice. Brajaras Bhavana, you grew up with deities in your house. What was it like? You were born into a house where deities were already there. What did it feel like as a kid as a baby, now?
Yeah, my parents were always very, they valued deity worship at a very high level, and that was the instruction from the Guru Maharaj, and so they were very keen on having the best kind of schedule. And I remember as a kid, I'd wake up and I'd end up like seeing them in the deity room doing Gayatri or reading, and I would just go there and just like sleep in the deity room while I was like still like waking up slowly. And as I grew older, I would like really try to be a part of the service and like help in the abhishek or help like wash their plates. And it's just so nice because you get to build this like personal relationship with the deities, and being a part of a home that does a lot of deity worship and is always looking to like buy things for the deities, take care of them and so on. It's really special because it just brings the focus into one central place, which is that altar. And actually now that they're gone on a little trip, so I've been having to take care of them for a few days, and it takes a long time, but it's really sweet when I do it in the morning, because it's just, I can just like let go of every thought and just focus on like picking the flowers or doing the arti and so on. It's really sweet to do that, and I feel very happy for Kunjri that she's going to grow up in such a wonderful environment and household and be able to worship the deities here.
Thank you. Amritari, you've always had Tulsi in your house. And more Tulsi, I think, per capita than any other household I've ever seen, or any city, small town, more Tulsis per capita than any other place. And you have had deity worship, starting with extensive Tulsi worship in your home, you and Rasheshwari Leela. So what's it been like for you and the kids?
So for us, it started with a very basic thought. I remember when we first time brought the deities, and one of the sadhus in Vrindavan told me that you are taking Krishna and Radha, you have to be very serious. They need to be served at least 2 to 3 times in a day. And that stayed with us in our mind, that come what may, whatever be the circumstances, we have to serve the deity on a certain hour. We keep a window. Like morning deity worship has to be between, say, 9 and 11, and evening deity worship needs to be happen between, say, 5 and 7. So one of us need to be around and do that service. And then slowly, all the schedule starts to come around that. It becomes a forcing function. It doesn't matter. I cleaned up my calendar. Like I would cancel my meetings that I would carve out half an hour, 45 minutes in the morning. And same thing, we would do it in the evening. And if I'm traveling, Raseshwari is there at home, she will pick it up. And if both of us are in the temple, my mom would pick it up. So building that whole schedule and that discipline, and then the thing is that affection that in the end builds up. Like when I'm doing my chanting, half the time I'm thinking of what did I do today morning and how can I more, like just keep getting entrenched in that thought. That's been the experience. With the kids, they have slowly got into the rhythm now. They know exactly what needs to be done. We do arti, so whenever they have time, they would do the arti, they would sing arti, and we are doing the worship while the arti is going on. So that's been the schedule and experience for us.
I noticed that when we do Youth Jam on Sundays at 7 p.m., and we sing the Tulsi Artik song, and even the littlest of kids, without looking at the screen, know the words to that. So it must mean that everyone's doing Pancharatrik Vidhi at home, worshipping Tulsi, worshipping the deities. It becomes quite natural when the kids grow up in that environment, that they know all the songs. And I mean, I know all the Beatles songs and a lot of commercials, but it's invaluable to have those vibrating in your heart when you grow up. It makes all the difference in the world. And since we still have, oh yes, please, Hansapriya.
Hi, Krishna. I also wanted to say that I'm so happy that Kumari and Haldar and Kunji, they got the Krishna Balaram, because I remember when Kumari and Haldar, they moved in 2011 to ISV. They're staying with me, and every time when I go to Vrindavan, they would be taking care of my Krishna Balaram. And I know that how much they loved it, and I'm just so happy that also they would, when they go to Vrindavan, whenever they got chance to go to Vrindavan, they would bring something back for Krishna Balaram. But now I'm just happy to see that how Krishna Balaram has come to them. So just deity worship, it just works, and just it is so empowering for me to see that Kunji fell in love with Krishna Balaram. So I'm just saying that it is so personal, this whole deity worship, and Krishna Balaram just truly beautiful. Hare Krishna.
Today is Prem Kishori's birthday. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. There you are. Hare Krishna. May always have association with devotees, which is the most important aspect of devotional service. May always have a desire to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and may it grow more and more in your life. May always have a taste for chanting Hare Krishna. May always have opportunities to go to the Holy Dham. May always have an opportunity to do service for the Sankirtan movement. May remain healthy into the very, very late years of your life. Hare Krishna. And prasadam for everybody in San Jose, Santa Clara County, San Mateo County, Contra Costa County, San Francisco, Alameda County, Orange County. Hare Krishna. Vanchakabdurusha kripasinameva cha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Speech.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for everyone coming here, really using your truly in independence, Independence Day to be here. Thank you so much for each one of you. And special gratitude to Maharaj and Guruma. Thank you is not enough word. I think our whole life is just around you both. Really, it's whatever being, something good we learn or able to applicable or execute as something good, it's just because of your pure mercy. It's like when we moved to ISV 2010, I think devotee in LA, that's where we came in contact with the Krishna consciousness. And devotee in LA mentioned that, oh, you're going to LA? It will be wonderful. And then when you came to, from LA devotee, they mentioned, oh, you're going to ISV? That would be amazing. And then when I came to the ISV, it was like small storefront temple versus New Dwarka, it's very opulent. I say, how it's amazing, right? And then I went back after 6 months and I tell you were saying amazing. You say, you will learn that, the training you get that, the opportunity you get that is unimaginable. And that's where from that, I think I never looked back. Even our wedding done by Maharaj, Mataji, of your blessings. Even very, conceiving first child and really taking guidance how we should be getting it. And really you treated, show us the different examples in a community we have it and how it becomes so easy. And I think year after is going on. Without you, it would not be same or easy. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for giving. And especially taking so much of effort to really, even these days, to find Krishna Balaram deities and meditating on that, find the Kanai Balai's name. So Kanai Balai ki jai. So thank you so much. And a lot of devotees, I see their familiar faces here a lot. And you all being really part of our family. Without you, we are nothing. And I'm sure Kanai Balai has a special plan for us to be in each of your association and make our life and journey easy in all your, and so many devotees just came forward to help for these festivals putting together. It was not just a one man show. Even I was sitting whole class here. It's so much, help, and which like my father was worried about how you gonna fit everyone 200. He says all devotee, they're gonna all sit. Don't worry. So thank you so much for tolerating all the shortcomings, and anything we have missed that. Please you still have a chance to make it up, and we have nice prasadam cooked by. In the Kumarila and Kunjri, they have really meditating on the Vrindavan Dham, the menu. So please enjoy that to your heart contest. And then thank you so much for being here, Arun Bill.
A special thanks Yashoda Kripa in Mantra City, who did the heavy lifting when it comes to setting up the yagya and doing. They've become very expert in deity worship, having taken the full course in Vrindavan or Mayapur? In Mayapur. Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure working with you. And also to was it Malini and Pri Kishori who dressed the deities today? Amazing. And Kumari Leela. Thank you very much. Stunningly beautiful. Everyone did something, and it reminds me of when Madhavendra Puri discovered Gopal in Vrindavan, and then everyone just came and did something and brought something. And that's really the spirit of deity worship. And this is Vrindavan here in this beautiful home. Thank you very much, Kumari Leela. Thank you very much, Haladara Rupa. Thank you very much, Kunji. And all glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Haribol.